ॐ गणानां त्वा गणपतिं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमम् ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणस्पत आनः शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम् प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती धीनामवित्र्यवतु गणेशाय नमः सरस्वत्यै नमः श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ यश्छन्दसां वृषभो विश्वरूपः छन्दोभ्योऽध्यमृतात् सम्बभूव समेन्द्रो मेधया स्पृणोतु अमृतस्य देवधारणो भूयासम् शरीरं मे विचर्षणम् जिह्वा मे मधुमत्तमा कर्णाभ्यां भूरिविश्रुवम् ब्रह्मणः कोशोऽसि मेधया पिहितः श्रुतं मे गोपाय ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः मेधा देवी जुषमाणा न आगाद्विश्वाची भद्रा सुमनस्य माना त्वया जुष्टानुगमाना दुरुक्तान् बृहद्वदेम विदधे सुवीराः त्वया जुष्ट ऋषिर्भवति देवी त्वया ब्रह्मा गतः श्रीरुतत्वया त्वया जुष्टश्चित्रं विन्दते वसुसानो जुषस्वत्र विनो न मेधे मेधां महीन्द्रो ददातु मेधां देवी सरस्वती मेधां मे अश्विना वुभावा धत्तां पुष्करस्रजा अप्सरासु च या मेधा गन्धर्वेषु च यन्मनः दैवीं मेधा सरस्वती सा मां मेधा सुरभिर्जुषत स्वाहा आमा मेधा सुरभिर्विश्वरूपा हिरण्यवर्णा जगति जगम्या ऊर्जस्वती पयसा बिन्वमाना सा मां मेधा सुप्रतीकाजुषन्ताम् मयि मेधां मयि प्रजां मय्यग्निस्तेजो दधातु मयि मेधां मयि प्रजां मयीन्द्र इन्द्रियं दधातु मयि मेधां मयि प्रजां मयि सूर्यो भ्राजो दधातु हंस हंसाय विद्महे परमहंसाय धीमहि तन्नो हंसः प्रचोदयात् ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात् स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्ताम् न्यायेन मार्गेण महीं महिषाः गोब्राह्मणेभ्यः शुभमस्तु नित्यम् समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः Om Shri Sai Ram. Offering my most humble pranams at the lotus feet of Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. On behalf of the whole Veda family, I extend my warm welcome to all the brothers and sisters watching this program through YouTube channel. I also extend my warm welcome to our today's guest speaker, Julia Charles Ma'am. Sai Ram. Julia Charles Hall has been a lifetime spiritual aspirant whose search for the fountain of truth ended when she had her first darshan of Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba in 1998. Swami immediately put her to work full-time, ending her career of close to 2 decades as a communications consultant to a major multinational corporation. Whenever in Puttaparthi, Julia took on full-time seva in the Western canteen. From 2000 until she moved to Puttaparthi in 2005, Julia was active in the Sai organization of Canada, accepting many roles at the local Sai Center in Vancouver, British Columbia, and working as the associate editor and designer of the Sri Sathya Sai newsletter of Canada. After moving to Puttaparthi, she served Swami as an editor and designer of a number of well-known books found in the ashram bookshop, including Human Values and Health and the second edition of Spirituality and Health, both by the late Dr. Charanjit Ghooi, Love and Suffering, My Road to Liberation by Nooshin Mehrabani, and Handbook of Union with God through finger postures by the late Aparna Choudhuri. In 2009, Julia was called to become a full-time volunteer teacher at a home and school for needy children in Puttaparthi based on Sai Teachings and Values. She moved into the children's home in 2010 and taught creative writing, computer science, debate, drama, and Sai Spirituality. The children were blessed to perform programs written by her in the double-decker building of Prashanti Nilayam as part of the international Christmas programs in 2010, 2011, and 2012. Julia also brought her friend Dr. Saraswathi Konjar to the home school in 2009 to begin teaching Vedam to the children. You can hear her talk in episode number 11 of this ãgama series. Dr. Anna was an excellent teacher and the group proved surprisingly proficient at chanting, which brought them to the attention of Sri Vedanarayanan sir, who himself taught the children daily from 2012 to 2014. Their proficiency gave them many opportunities to chant during sponsored trips around southern India, and they even produced at CD. In 2015, Julia became an administrator of the children's home, now managed by Prema Dharma Charitable Trust. In 2016, the children were given an opportunity to chant at the first National Veda Conference in Prashanti Nilayam. Train the trainers. Vedam chanting as well as Vedic and Sai teachings continue to be a foundation of the home, although the children now all attend outside schools and many are in college. Miss Hall graduated with a BA in drama from Franklin and Marshall College in Pennsylvania, USA, and went on to pursue her master's degree at Emerson College in Boston in theatre arts management. She later received ordination as an interfaith minister of spiritual science after 3 years of study at the National Spiritual Science Center of USA. With Swami's grace, she still lives in Puttaparthi with the children. Over to you, ma'am. Jai Sai Ram.
अच्युतं मे गोपाय
Om Shri Sai Ram. I offer my most humble and loving pranams at the divine lotus feet of our beloved Sadguru, Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Respected Vedic scholars, gurus, students, brothers and sisters, loving Sai Rams to all of you. I myself am not a Vedic scholar, nor am I even better than an average chanter of Vedam. But I love Vedas, and I have done all that I am able to promote them within my sphere, which is the children's home within where I live and in my small community. I am deeply grateful to have been invited to be part of this auspicious series, Gama ãgama, Vedas, the foundation of Indian culture and spirituality. I can only share from within the realm of my experience and understanding, and so I pray to Bhagavan for his divine guidance. And so, we have this topic, Vedas, the foundation of Indian culture and spirituality. And I would humbly suggest that Vedas are actually the foundation, not only of Indian culture, but of human culture. Since time immemorial, people of all lands have traveled to India seeking to know the source of being, which can be known by studying and chanting the Vedas. Swami defines Indian culture as the culture that perceives that around you everything you see is God. That's from Sathya Sai Vahini. Now, I have been searching for God or the truth of existence for as long as I can remember in this life. I always knew that this search for meaning was more important than success in any kind of worldly career. Although with Swami's grace, I did have a good career, and I worked in New York City as a communications consultant to very large multinational companies for close to almost 2 decades. But while I worked, I continued to go to spiritual seminars and workshops, always hoping to find a teacher who could unlock the truth of life for me, that I knew was somewhere in me, but I just wasn't able to find. Of course, during this journey, I encountered stories of India with her sadhus and her saints, and reference, of course, to the Holy Vedas. I had actually also encountered the Vedas when I studied comparative religion in college, but it seemed like it was something dry and something old, not something that felt relevant to today. And then when I began to practice meditation, of course, as everyone, I came in contact with Om, the pranava, the very first vibration, and I began to chant it regularly. I discovered in an interesting way the unique power of Om, which of course is at the very core and the first vibration, and that is with babies. If any of you have infants, you might note that when the baby is crying, you can pick them up and start just holding them and slowly, quietly into their ear chanting Om. Friends of mine and family used to think I was some sort of baby whisperer, but I only was going right to the core, to the truth. And of course, infants are very, very close to that source of existence. We use Om even now in our children's home, and we find it is more effective at quieting the children and getting their attention than calling out loudly. In 1992, I first learned of Swami. I read a book about him, and in it he told a devotee, "I know everyone in the world, and those who are mine I call home to myself." I was not called right at this moment, but later he began to come to me a number of years later in meditation. This orange light would come around me, and I began to remember Sathya Sai Baba, and I read about him. And then I was blessed in 1998 to be called home and to have my first darshan. And that instance really was the culmination of all my seeking. And it was also pretty much the end of my life in the West. India felt like it was more and more my home. Now, during my first trip to India in 1998 was also my first experience with live Vedam chanting. In the morning, after the Suprabhatan, the Pradakshina would come and it would walk around the Sai Konjar hall and then enter in. I would often be waiting with another group for the pathway to open up so that we could go and sit in the token lines. But I was so taken by what happened when the Veda chanters processed. I felt like the air was being completely cleaned. And of course later, when I heard Swami say that Vedas are the very breath of God, I thought, of course, this is what happened. The divine breath was cleansing the very air of this sacred Prashanti Nilayam. And that moment was when I realized that the Vedas were alive, that they were a living essence, a vibration of divinity, and they were not something ancient. They were something very eternal. They were something very now. Swami says, of course, that Veda is a vibration. Again, in Sathya Sai Vahini, he says it came about due to the sankalpa of the divine consciousness, the desire, I am one, let me become many. And Vedas continue, whether anyone perceives them or not, he says. He says Vedas are the breath of God, so how can they not continue? So, as much as the chanting at that time moved me very deeply, I still felt that Vedas were something sort of far above me. They were for elevated souls who had been born in India and who were given the grace to learn and to listen and to chant. In 2005, Swami called me to live permanently in Puttaparthi. Then in 2006, Swami made his profound pronouncement, which may be listened to on the homepage of the Vedam portal on the website. You all must know that God has gifted the Vedas so all can chant. Veda chanting sees no difference, such as caste or creed or community. Swami said, it is Bhagavan's decision that there should be Veda chanting in every country by every individual. Veda is not limited to Brahmin community, he continued, or to India alone. Veda is the relief and the remedy for all the ills of society. In fact, Veda is meant for the progress and welfare of every individual. The fortunate ones, he said, pick up, learn, publicize, teach, and share. And I know that I'm speaking to an audience of those fortunate ones. The first time I heard the Vedas over the PA system in the Sai Konjar hall, something really profound happened to me. I was lifted up out of my body, I was spun around, and I was brought back down. And it was so deep in me that I made a commitment that I was going to learn to chant very well. But the thing is, with Swami, he has kept me pretty much busy ever since the day I came to Puttaparthi back in 1998. And so often when I would make a commitment to learn either or participate in some sort of a devotional program, some seva would draw me away. One more story about me before I launch into how the Vedas have affected the lives of a group of children. And that is, in 2006, I was really thrilled. I mean, I was just over the moon when I heard that the Adirudra Mahayagna would be performed. Now, I had been working daily since 2006 on the edit of a book by Dr. Charanjit Ghooi called Human Values and Health. It was a sequel to her earlier book, Spirituality and Health. And because of the yagna, Dr. Ghooi and I determined that we would put the book on hold until after the yagna. But on the second day of the yagna, Swami came by in the car and he pierced me with this deep look. Go, he said, into my mind, and don't come back until book is finished. This has always been one of the main ways actually Swami has communicated to me. He has looked deeply into my eyes and then he has spoken. And so I had this command and I was shaken And I was a little disappointed, but I would never disobey Swami. So during all that yagna, I stayed in my flat and I labored to complete Dr. Ghooi's book, Human Values and Health, for its first full presentation to Swami. And Swami really granted a grace. I had never been able to hear the Vedas or the bhajans from my flat before, but this time the yagna was full. It was loud. I could hear all of the chanting that was going on, and so that sound vibration began to be woven into every page of this book that I was working together with Dr. Ghooi on to present to Swami. And then, the day before the end of the yagna, Human Values and Health was complete. Dr. Ghooi gave the book to her senior, Dr. Alreja, who took it to Swami, who took it on his lap. And after a look, he gave the book to the boys and he said, "Take it to my room. I will look at it in the night." When I heard this, I was so happy because he had received what I had given, this sacrifice of being at the yagna. He had received this book. Now, of course, I did not write the book, but he allowed me to be the midwife of that book, and he gave me this power of the Vedas in me to bring that book into birth. The Vedas teach us of sacrifice, and Swami says even the inner meaning of yagna is sacrifice or giving up. Creation, its maintenance, depends only on sacrifice. Swami further says, what is recommended is sacrifice of the wayward mind, dedicating it to God so that it will become stable. For me, that is always what my seva has been about. It's been keeping me busy, keeping me in service to Swami. In addition, I think this is really a recurring theme in my life, that whenever I wanted to do some intense devotional practice, attend the yagnas, even the annual Dasara yagnas, Swami would give me some work. But then the great grace of that is that he has taught me how much duty is God and work is worship. And that is a lesson I never would have gotten had it not been for Swami giving me these opportunities. My largest project for Swami was yet to come, and it began in December 2008 when I met a group of children who were living in a home located in a series of flats in Sai Gauri apartments in Puttaparthi. Now, this home was spontaneously created in 2002, initially with a small group of children from destitute communities around Puttaparthi. They had been sponsored in local schools by American Sai devotee couple. And the children's parents, who were quite poor, they were unemployed laborers, they were beggars, they pleaded with the couple to please take the children to live with them. And the children were not really thriving in the schools, in the hostels at that time. So the couple not only took the children to live with them, they began to teach them. They decided that they would open a school and be as organized about it as they could. So they ordered books and the syllabus based on the CBSE curriculum, and they followed a pattern of the Sathya Sai schools. Now, the home was initially styled as a gurukul, where students and teachers could grow together towards human excellence. And the intention was to learn the eternal Vedic teachings along with worldly lessons for making a living, and to raise children who were from very backward communities who could bring forth living Sai teachings of transformation as they grew, as they moved out into the world. The home at that time moved back and forth between Puttaparthi and Whitefield with Swami when he moved. Someone at one point gifted land in Coorg, Karnataka for a full-time establishment, which never fully got off the ground. So basically it's been based continually in Puttaparthi. Now gradually more children were brought by their parents. The parents had learned of the home by word of mouth, and they wanted their children to be part of it. Later, some of the older girls made a film about their early lives, which is called The Tent Village, and here is just a little peek at that film.
This is my niece. They're all cute, but I wish that they weren't in that situation. My name is Alveli. I'm studying second year BA. I love fashion designing and dancing. We wanted to make a documentary, and the name is The 10th Village. This is how they build their tents. They trade hairpins like these for hair. They sell the hair for wigs. This is my mom. When we went to film her, I really missed being with her and helping her. She's my friend. We were grown up together. I don't remember what we did, but we went to beg. Their life is really hard. My mother got married when she was 13, 14. My uncles just wanted us to work, collecting recycled things and everything. They kind of accept that they're untouchable or low caste and forget who they truly are. Most of society doesn't even notice that the people who live in tents even exist. They too are beautiful souls, born under different circumstances.
By the time I came on the scene in 2008, there were over 30 children, all 9th standard and below. I taught language arts to all ages, including creative writing, drama, poetry, debate, and more. Now, in addition, the children were now taught by so many Sai devotees from all over the world. They came for long or short periods of time. Most were quite well educated, so the children had excellent teachers and a diverse education and an exposure to different cultures. The intention was that as they matured, they would join national open schooling, get their secondary certifications so that they could still study at home, be part of all the other cultural things that were going on here, and then go on to college and junior college as the time came. I was told that at one point Swami had chatted with the directors of the school and sent messages through some VIPs, saying on more than one occasion that these were his children, and that the home could be called Dino Jano Dharana Patakamu. Please excuse my Kunchum Telugu. The compassionate home for the upliftment of society. This project felt to me like a representation of how human beings should live. We should be opening our hearts to people who appear different from us, sharing, caring, learning, and ultimately discovering the pure truth in the Vedas, who we truly are, that we are the Atma, and that same Atma lives within all of us. Swami, of course, he has said that the Vedas came about due to the sankalpa of the divine consciousness. I am one, let me become many. Well, this project wanted to reverse that, and we want to discover the unity in the diversity, which is what so many people had seen now for centuries. So in late 2009, I brought my friend, Dr. Saraswathi Konjar, to teach the Vedas to the children. And you can hear her talk in part 11 of this Gama ãgama series. Initially, some of the children thought that they should not learn. They felt ashamed of where they came from. They felt that they were not Brahmins, they were not from good families, or they didn't know people who were pundits. But Dr. Saraswathi explained to them about Swami's teaching. She explained to them about his proclamation in 2006 that everyone everywhere should chant the Vedas. And she reminded the children that propagation of the Vedas was a divine duty and part of the mission of this Sai avatar. Swami has said, "My main task is the re-establishment of the Vedas and Shastras to reveal the knowledge about them to all peoples. This task will succeed. It will not be limited. It will not be slowed down. When the Lord decides, his divine will cannot be hindered." And he says, I have come to instruct all in the essence of the Vedas, to shower on all this precious gift, to protect the ancient wisdom of Sanatana Dharma and to preserve it. And that seems to me to be at this core of this series, Vedas, the foundation of Indian culture and spirituality. This must be preserved. It must be preserved not only for Bharat, but it must be preserved for all humanity at this very delicate time in the history of our planet. So Swami said also, what is the teaching of the Vedas? It is that to whichever economic or social or intellectual group you belong, you are a child of immortality. That's from Sathya Sai Speaks, Volume 4. And we have always taught this to the children, that they are children of immortality, that they have a right to all the fruits of this earth which are God-given, and that wherever they came from, the circumstances of their birth, the circumstances of their body in this lifetime does not need to define them. It does not need to create a predetermined path that they must follow. And that they came to this earth to remember who they truly are and to be free from this cycle of birth and death. That is why we have all come. And the Vedas are one of the most profound and refined tools, probably the most refined tools that have been gifted to humanity by God. So, I'm very grateful to say that back in 2009, when the children began to learn Vedas, they took to it immediately. And by Swami's grace, of course, then I was put in a position where I could do my duty and also have time to learn how to chant. And this was a great joy to me. Very quickly, the children became good at chanting. And we started to hold presentations every Saturday in the home where the guests could come. The children would chant, they would sing, they would give recitations or perform a short drama. And the themes were always about spiritual development, about our beloved Swami, about respect for diversity, about upliftment. We would end with a song, and then we served a free lunch to everyone. And this became a really beautiful satsang that elevated the children and I think really gave a lot of nourishment to everyone who came. Sometimes our home was packed to up to 100 people, and so we took it down into the hall downstairs. Many devotees from all over the world and India, in addition to listening to Vedam daily in Sai Kawan Hall, well, they were now being exposed to Vedam chanting in our home by children who in the past would never even have been permitted to learn.
I'd like to talk about heart, anatomy and physiology. How does the human heart
When in
work?
disgrace with fortune and men's eyes, I all alone beweave my outcast state, and trouble deaf heaven with my bootless cries. Look upon me.
Thank you for the sun, the sky, and for all things that like to fly.
Thank you, Swami, for giving me such good friends. As Swami says, friendship is the expression of unshakable love. Om Shri Sai.
As part of our drama program, Swami inspired me to write multi-faith plays to perform at Christmas time. Always they were about these unifying principles of all religions, of all peoples, and they always included some Veda chanting. there is something about seeing young people, particularly young people who came from having no opportunities, being able to be filled with divine presence and being able to share their love. And we were so grateful to have had that opportunity, and thanks, Swami, for that. Now, the children themselves were being changed by this Veda chanting. They were being empowered. We saw differences in them, in their self-discipline, in their schoolwork, in their artwork, in their emotional balance. And their knowledge of Vedanta and Sai teachings was giving them really a basis for life. And this was the grace of the Vedas themselves. And on our beloved Swami, and who continued to carry us along. We have always known that this is his home, and we have always served here and served the children as if we are serving him directly. In 2012, the children's skill in chanting brought them to the attention of Sri Vedanarayanan, the well-known Veda teacher from the Sri Sathya Sai Higher Secondary School. And we invited him to teach, and initially he said, well, he might come and he might make some corrections. But the children proved to be so adept that he began to come every day. We felt really this was Swami's grace upon us.
Once again.
And Vedanarayan sir, who the children had begun to call Veda uncle, felt that he had never heard a group of children who chanted that sounded like one voice. And the children really loved him, and he provided even more grounding for them in Vedic teachings. And some of the things that he shared with them, I'd like to share with you. I mean, of course, he reinforced for them that anyone has the right to learn how to chant Vedas, as they bring out the divinity that is latent in all. That is their purpose. He also said that no one could possibly chant as well as these children unless they had been chanting for thousands of lifetimes, that they should give up their identity, that they were these bodies, and remember that this chanting came from lifetimes of holding many different roles in society. Also, the more that we chant, the more the understanding of Vedas becomes born in our hearts and into our lives. It is, of course, good to know what a chant is, but there's also this awareness, because the Vedas are always going on, they're eternally coming as God is always breathing, that the Vedas will come into our understanding when the time is also right for us. So Veda uncle, and I hope he forgives me for that familiarity, as the children always called him, he brought more of Swami's grace, and we were given a lot of opportunities to travel and to chant. And here are some clips, or a few of them. We were able to chant at the Golden Temple in Tamil Nadu. We were able to chant at the Sri Ramana Maharshi ashram. And then finally we were given the chance of making a CD of the Veda chanting of the children. Also, to keep Vedas really fresh for the children, we tried to make learning fun. We had regular Veda study periods between smaller groups and developed little small competitions. And that was interesting. And that all culminated in actually what became a full-day Veda workshop. The best chanters were made group leaders, and then by lots, the rest of the group was formed. Competitions included pronunciation challenges, speed challenges, definition challenges, art, both abstract to the vibration of a particular Veda and also realistic to the deity of the Veda, as well as questions about the content. Now, the day culminated in a final event, which was really the biggest hit, which was Veda Jeopardy, which is based on that long-running television game where a question is revealed and then where an answer is revealed and then a question must be posed. And that was created by one of the volunteers who were with us. Sri Veda taught in our home until late 2014. And then in the early part of 2015, a change was made in the structure of the home. The original founders, who had been away so much in the last years in USA, had revealed that they had major health issues and they would not return to India. There had also been less and less teachers coming ever since Swami had left the body, as so many of our teachers were from overseas. So my colleague, Lori Perry, and I had been managing the home. And we prayed to Swami, and he blessed us, and he guided us, and the decision was made to enroll all the children into schools. The oldest girls, who had completed their degree by distance at this time, took a career preparation training course, and they set out to work in Bangalore. In collaboration with other Indian devotees, a trust was officially registered to manage the home, Prema Dharma Charitable Trust. We wanted it to be love in right action, always. And it is really due to Bhagavan's divine grace that it exists only to this day. He loves us, he carries us, he fosters us, he guides us. This marked a dramatic change in the amount of time we could devote to Vedas in our home. Sri Veda had begun to travel more for Swami in the ashram, and he was not so available. We continued daily classes, and the older girls became the younger ones' teachers. With Swami's grace, though, the children did very well at school, and we are very happy to report that most of them really are in the 90th percentile or even toppers. So though it was a risk to homeschool the children, it did prove to pay off. They are, in fact, different. They're not like other children. With Swami's grace, they're not drawn to the world so much as their peers. The older children who have gone to college remark how much more aware they are, how much less likely they are to react emotionally than their classmates or to be drawn into a lot of silly teen behaviors. They also note how much more they trust Swami, more than ever when they're away from home, as I'm sure so many people find out. So the discipline of the Vedas and Swami's teachings has really given them a balanced education. With Swami's grace, the children were also privileged to chant at the opening of the first National Veda Conference in Prashanti Nilayan in 2016. Train the trainers. Perhaps many of you who are listening to this now were there at that time. We're so grateful to Brother Subramanian Gorti for inviting us to participate in that. We have always told the children that the Vedas are something that has been given to them, and as such they must give it. It is something they must care for. And they have many interesting responses to the effect the Vedas that have in their lives. One of the younger children talks about how powerful the Vedas are, and she says, chanting has helped me with exams, and it's also helping me with my dad. Her father has a lot of health and emotional problems. She says, I pray and chant for my dad and my family, and I see the difference. I like to chant, and I get energy from it. Another one of our older girls, who actually went to Swami's Anantapur campus and is now in PG studies, said, my life has changed completely. I feel God's presence all around me. When I chant, I feel that Swami is right here, and I can count on him for anything. I am experiencing the power of Vedas more when I am in the outside world, and there are so many people who depend on material things to make themselves happy. I don't need to do that. Another one of our college students, Kalyani, says, Vedas purify the air and they keep me connected to myself. I can surround myself with a spiritual environment wherever I am, and I can feel peaceful and I can study better. One of our other older girls, Ali Bailey, says, chanting has improved my memory and awareness. It makes me feel peaceful. I notice that the Vedas cleanse the space where they are being chanted. We can actually feel negativity leaving us. Amita, also in college, was an Ishwarama school student. She says, Chanting is a sadhana, not just for ourselves, but for the entire world, because of the good vibrations that we create. Veda chanting has helped me to become a better member of a team. It's helped me to work better with people, and it fills me with power and strength. Ramesh, who was also a graduate of Yeshwarama school, he says, I feel if we lost the Vedas, we would lose our way as human beings. I am a good chanter, so I was able to chant during one of the Dasara Yagnas on stage. It was like a dream come true. Chanting has helped me with my parents too. His parents are quite troubled and challenging. He said, but I am more forgiving and understanding. When I am home, they are happier. And not just because I'm the son who is home, but because I bring more balance. And Devi, who is now entering her second year, studying art, she says the vibration is different than any other sound vibration. They have a value in the bigger picture of human life than we will ever see. Devi is one of our best chanters. She's currently at home right now on a study holiday, and she is teaching. So here is a little example of her with the younger children. We always make sure that when any child comes into the home that they are immediately integrated into the Veda chanting group, and they pick it up as they go along. Sometimes, as I said, we have the older girls or Dr. Anna Saraswati, or we learn even from the Shruti CD. And the young ones now know quite a few chants. As the children mature and they move out of the home, most of them have stayed quite close to the Vedas and to Swami and his teachings. They don't chant daily, but they get together and they chant and they sing during any important function. A few others have, of course, ventured out into the world of Maya, and sometimes they get lost for a time. You know, we always have to contend with this other teacher of society right now, which is films and social media. And I'm very grateful that we're very cautious with how that enters our home. But it's there in the schools, and we know that it is something that we need more things like the Vedas to help us to contend with. Swami says, though, that each will come in his own way, at his own pace, according to his inner urge, along the path God will reveal to him as his own. So what we learn is never wasted. Bhagavan has also told us that every sound that has ever been made is still vibrating. It's vibrating out in the cosmos. He says that every good thought or positive experience we have ever entertained also stays with us. It stays in our auric body. And as we pass through lifetimes, it's there. And it's ready. It can be quickened when the time is right, when something new comes in. Perhaps that's what's happened to our children with them being able to suddenly chant the Vedas. This lived in their body, in their energy body, as they pass from birth to birth. Prema Dharma Family Home has been a sadhana that he gave to those of us who have worked here as volunteers all these years. And the children are really his children. And we feel that we are offering them back to Him as best we can, as souls which have been quickened, who are more loving, more awake, and with His grace are making positive and conscious contributions to whatever society, wherever they go, whether they are in school or whether they are working. They are different. They are people who live almost on a bridge between East and West, between the material world and the spiritual world. And that perhaps is a way that we can see forward into the future. I want to bring to our minds a small quote from Swami's letter to his brother, where he said, "I have a task to foster all mankind and ensure for all of them lives full of bliss." This is all mankind. And here we are having the series, we are talking about Vedas, the foundation of Indian culture and spirituality. And I began this talk by saying that I feel that Vedas are not only the foundation of Indian culture, but the foundation of human culture. So I would like to share a story that is not my story. This came from Sri Vedanarayanan, and I pray he indulges me to share this. A number of years ago, he was invited to South America by a group from the Sai organization there to give a talk and speak on the Vedas. When he arrived at the venue, he found men lined up wearing dhotis, holding coconuts, ready to honor him as he was taken into the venue. When he arrived inside the hall, he saw groups of people sitting around lingams. They had all learned Sri Rudram, and they were all very eager to do puja to the lingam. And these people were not of Indian descent. They were Catholics. They were raised Christians in South America. Many had never been to India. And yet here was Indian culture, Indian spirituality very much alive, very much received by them, and them very, very much wanting to use it to make a positive contribution to the world. This is how Swami has repeatedly said that India is the spiritual engine of the world. So all of us who were born outside of India, born in other bodies, I just think also of the story I said at the beginning where Swami said, "I know everyone in the world, and those who are mine I call home to myself." And I have been called here, as have all of the foreigners who have come. And we are all part, this touches me, we are all part of the preservation of the Vedas as the foundation of human culture and spirituality. And he needs all of us for this Sai mission. I was reading the other day a quote from Swami, which he said to Dr. John Hislop in conversations with Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Swami said, "Were it not for the mind change of Sai devotees, the world would already have fallen into complete chaos. The deterioration of mind and man has been very rapid and abrupt, even precipitous in this last number of years. That the world is not in total destruction is due to the change of mind of Sai devotees and to Sai's grace." In another interview he said, "The evil in the world is so widespread that humanity itself would be destroyed in a nuclear holocaust in the event of a world war. It is to prevent such a catastrophe that this avatar has come, to raise human consciousness above the existing syndrome of anger, hate, violence, and war, and save the world from disaster. This can be achieved only by the re-establishment of the brotherhood of mankind through the Vedas, Shastras, and other religions." So I think, why have these Vedas been preserved all this time, if not to share them as much as we can, wherever we can, to preserve this world? We've just been through a pandemic. In fact, we're still even in the tail end of it. There has never been a greater need. We immediately, when the pandemic began, in our household began chanting Atrina from the Krishna Yajurveda, and we have been very protected here by Swami's grace. So I would pray to Swami in closing that he creates more and more people with the love of the Vedas who wish to share it with more and more people, and that this vibration of love, of pure understanding, of unity in diversity begins to flow more and more around the world, and that it is taught more and more to anyone of any caste, any creed, of any age, nationality, and faith. Swami says, many hesitate to believe that things will improve, that life will be happy for all and full of joy, and that the golden age will occur. Let me assure you that this Dharma Swarup, this divine body, has not come in vain. It will succeed in averting the crisis that has come upon humanity. The spiritual wisdom of India is today a triumphant beacon, shining in one resplendent flame in the thickening darkness, illumining all lands, encompassing all races, and enchanting all mankind. Thank you all for your kind attention, and deepest thanks from all of us to our revered Veda teachers, Dr. Anna Saraswati Auntie, and of course Sri Vedanarayanan, who raised the children up to that level of chanting by drawing out that beauty of the Vedas which was already within them. Beloved Swami, I never know where to begin or end in thanking you for all that you bless us with. You are the foundation of all our lives, and may we always all be blessed to serve your lotus feet. Shri Sai Ram.
Om Shri Sai Ram. As we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter words but to live by them. Respected Julia Ma'am's life is a perfect example to be followed by all of us, as it would be one of the most beautiful compensations of this divine life granted to us by our beloved Bhagavan Baba. The greatest good you can do for the others is not just share your riches, but reveal to them their own. How magnificently she adds up to the glory of the Vedas, saying that the Vedas are not only the basic foundation of Indian culture, but of the entire human culture. That the Vedas are the very breath of God. Hence, the whole environment up to several kilometers gets purified by these Vedic chants. As the breath of God can never stop, so are the Vedas. How can they ever stop? In fact, we are the fortunate chosen ones to be able to continue this sadhana, contributing in the continuation of Bhagavan's divine mission of Veda Poshana. In Baba's words, pick up, learn, publicize, teach and share. Miss Julia made it a purpose of her life to render various services, including adoption of a group of children in 2008, imparting Vedic teachings apart from social education and other spiritual development activities, providing them motherly care, and many more. She blended her unique talent with service to these children as a part of obeying the divine command. These children were fortunate enough to learn Vedas from respected Sri Vedanarayanan Sir also, whom they lovingly called Veda Uncle, and experienced the ecstasy and exaltation of their own spirit. Since then, their lives have been completely transformed through Vedas, which is the ultimate goal of all goals. Sri Vedanarayanan Sir used to tell these children, no one can possibly chant Vedas unless they have been chanting it for thousands of their lives. Awesome. The more we chant, the more we understand them, and the more it comes into our life, making us more and more divine or powerful. Swami once told that every sound that has ever been made is still vibrating in the cosmos, and it contributes to our auric body. Possibly this could be the reason why many devotees who kept chanting Atrina Tva during the pandemic have come out safely, including our today's distinguished guest, Miss Julia Charles. She is an exemplary model proving right one of the famous quote by Swami in which he says, "I have a task to foster all mankind and ensure for all of their lives form a bliss." Respected ma'am, we pray to Bhagavan Baba to keep you happy, healthy and safe always. Also, we will always look forward towards your pure divine guidance in future. Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu. Jai Sai Ram.
Om Jai Jagadish Hare Swami Sathya Sai Hare Bhakta Jana Samrakshak Bhakta Jana Samrakshak Pati Maheshwara Om Jai Jagadish Hare Shashi Vedana Sridhara Sarva Pranapati Swami Sarva Pranapati Ashrita Kalpalatika Ashrita Kalpalatika Apatandhava Om Jai Jagadish Hare Mata Pita Guru Daivamu Mariyantayu Neeve Swami Mariyantayu Neeve Nada Brahma Jagannatha Nada Brahma Jagannatha Nagena Shayana Om Jai Jagadish Hare Omkara Rupa Ojasvi Ho Sai Mahadeva Sathya Sai Mahadeva Mangala Arati Anduko Mangala Arati Anduko Mandala Giridhari Om Jai Jagadish Hare Narayana Narayana Om Satya Narayana 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 Om Narayana Narayana Om Satya Narayana Narayana Om Satya Narayana Narayana Om Jai Sadguru Deva Narayana Narayana Om Satya Narayana 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 Om Narayana Narayana Om Satya Narayana Narayana Om Satya Narayana Narayana Om Jai Sadguru Deva Narayana Narayana Om Satya Narayana 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 Om Narayana Narayana Om Satya Narayana Narayana Om Satya Narayana Narayana Om Jai Sadguru Deva Shanti 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 Samasta Lokaah Sukhino Bhavantu Samasta Lokaah Sukhino Bhavantu Samasta Lokaah Sukhino Bhavantu Shanti 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 Jai Bolo Bhagwan Shri Sathya Sai Baba Ji ki Jai